Self-doubt and fear of failure are things that will impact everyone at some point throughout their life. Whenever it's time to make a big decision, whether that's quitting your job, starting a new business, maybe you're considering getting married, maybe you want to start a family, whatever it is, whenever those big decisions need to be made, it is almost guaranteed that self-doubt and fear of failure will start to creep in. And that's absolutely fine. The question is how you handle this. And this is something that I've seen a lot throughout my career. Back to when I was an employee, I would see it a lot among my colleagues. Also, when I was part of a small business, we would see it amongst other small businesses. More so recently with the people that I mentor, I see self-doubt and fear of failure really hold them back both personally and also in business as well. So I wanted to make this video to give you guys a 5-step process that you can follow that will hopefully help you when you try to overcome self-doubt and fear of failure. So the first thing I want you guys to understand is what self-doubt actually is, why it exists, and actually why it's not such a bad thing. So as I've got there, self-doubt can be a good thing. Its goal is to keep you safe. The brain likes to predict the future. So the brain's number one priority is to always keep you safe. So as humans, we've evolved with a negative bias to always see things in a negative light. And also we are probably the only conscious living being that has the ability to try and predict the future. Now, unfortunately, that creates a lot of anxiety and self-doubt as we like to role play lots of different scenarios in the future, many of which will include failure. And that creates a lot of self-doubt. And the reason we're role playing this is we're trying to predict every possible outcome so we can try and cover every possible outcome to keep us safe. Remember, that's the brain's primary goal, to keep us safe at all costs. So self-doubt can be a good thing as it will encourage you to think about all of the eventualities and possibilities. However, you still need to keep it under control, otherwise you'll never make a decision because you'll be crippled from self-doubt and fear of failure. So self-doubt is both evolutionary, as I just mentioned, humans have a negative bias. So for example, imagine back in the day, thousands of years ago, if a human heard something rustling in the bushes, if they had a positive bias, they might think, oh, it's okay, and they would be the one that got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. The human that had a negative bias and run away from the rustling bush would survive, and they would become our ancestors and pass that down to us. The problem is that this doesn't actually fit very well with the modern world, and that's why a lot of people do have issues with things such as self-doubt, fear of failure, and anxiety in general. And also, of course, there is an environmental aspect, i.e. your life experiences, the way you've brought up, and all the things you've experienced in life. They go together with the evolutionary stuff to form your self-doubt and fear of failure. So as I've got there, self-doubt is often compounded by other people's doubt. That's what I like to call it. Self-doubt is normally other people's doubt that has been projected onto you. So for example, you may have been brought up in a family where what mum and dad says goes. You then went through an education system that had pretty much exactly the same problem. The teacher's telling you how things should be, and their opinion is the only opinion that counted, and any creativity or alternative opinion is usually quashed. And as you've gone through these education systems and work environments, you've been surrounded by people who have been through exactly the same process as you, so also have this negative bias and this self-doubt and fear of failure. So as you can see there, I've got your evolutionary and environmental forces have built your road of self-doubt. So that's what I'm going to refer to it as, your road of self-doubt. And the reason for that is to think about the road in your mind. You have a road of self-doubt, and that is currently the way you think. Now the good news, there is something called neuroplasticity, which has been proven that the brain can actually change and evolve over time. So although we can't dig up your current road of self-doubt, we can build you a new one, and hopefully this video is going to help you with that. So I want you to imagine your current road of self-doubt as a bumpy old A road, and what we're going to try and do is build a nice new dual carriageway or a motorway, which is what you're going to use long term. Your old A road will still be there, and occasionally you might want to turn onto it, but the key is that you focus on staying on that new motorway that we're going to be building. So the first thing that will help you with this is step number 2. And that is knowing your values. Now, this might sound wishy-washy to people that haven't actually explored values fully, but values are massively important, and that's what we're going to discuss on this slide. So we all have values. However, you may not be aware of what they are and the impact they can have. And this is true for me. It was only a few years ago I kind of really looked into values and understood how this all worked, and this has given me so much clarity with my life, and that's why I wanted to share it with you in this video. So values help overcome self-doubt by providing clarity when making big decisions. So how does that actually work? So what I want you to do either now or hopefully once you finish watching this full video is take some time to establish your values. I'm going to give you some of mine to give you an example. These are just some of the obvious ones, but people have lots of values. Don't think you've only got 5 or 10. You've probably got hundreds of values, but there'll certainly be 5 or 10 that are core to who you are. So for example, mine at this moment in time, my values are being a good dad and husband, always providing for my family, maintaining good health so I actually can deliver on those first two, maintaining a very healthy work-life balance so I don't spend too much time at work, I spend more time with my family. I also value honesty and also value helping others as well, which is one of the reasons why I make these videos, because I want to do what I can to help other people. Now, values are unique and do not need to be justified. They are core to who you are. So whatever you believe your values are, that's absolutely fine. You do not have to justify them to anyone, but do keep in mind that values can change. So new ones can come up. For example, a few years ago, being a good dad wouldn't have been a value for me because I didn't have a son, whereas now it is an important value to me. And also sometimes you have to prioritize values as well. So at the moment, a work-life balance is high priority, whereas maybe a few years ago, it wasn't such a high priority and I was more focused on just making money. So you can see how values help form your life, but also they change as your life progresses. So knowing your values is extremely important, and then it will make more sense as we go through the next 3 steps. So step 3 is understanding other people. And this is extremely important, as I mentioned on slide 1, that a lot of your self-doubt and fear of failure comes from other people. So by understanding other people, you'll be able to understand yourself better. So the first thing I want you to do is show compassion towards other people, even those that hold opposing views or criticize your choices. Because throughout life, you're always going to have people that are like that, and that's absolutely fine. That is part of life. And you can either hate them, which is pointless, or you can show them compassion. You know, someone described to me that hating someone is like drinking poison yourself and hoping the other person dies. So there's no point harnessing hate. Show compassion towards that person. Secondly, people's views and opinions are often a reflection of them and not you. And this is something I get exposed to an awful lot through YouTube. You get comments on a YouTube video, and when you read the comment, it's normally a reflection of the person. Sometimes there'll be constructive feedback, but normally it's often just a very angry person. So if you can take that mindset that their opinions are often a reflection of them and not you, usually it's a lot easier to manage these things, and it won't contribute towards degrading your self-doubt and fear of failure. Also consider why other people may be critical of your choices. It's probably unlikely to be personal. But for example, if you told your mum and dad they were starting a business and they were like, I'm not sure you should be doing that, that might be meant in the most positive way possible. They might just trying to be protecting you. So keep in mind why someone might be thinking an opposing way to the way that you are currently thinking. They also might be judging you by their values, and that's what we do to other people as well. When someone else does something, we'll judge them by the way we see life and our own values. So hopefully by understanding your values, you can appreciate other people have values as well. So their judgments may be based on their values, which are a reflection of them and not a reflection of you. So again, keep that in mind. Also, how does it impact them? You know, if you have a colleague, maybe you work for someone at the moment, and you say to them, look, I want to start my own business. Your colleague might go, oh, I'm not sure that's a good idea. And that might be through genuine concern. It may also be that, you know, you're a good friend to your colleague and they don't want you leaving the company. So have a think about how your choices may impact other people, as often that will impact how they react to what you ask them and what you tell them. They also could be projecting their own insecurities. That's kind of the negative way to think about it, but that does happen quite a lot. And I think that goes back to point 2 there. I say people's views and opinions are often a reflection of them and not you. And also jealousy as well. If you tell someone you're going to be starting a new business, if you succeed, that person's probably going to be jealous. So, you know, that is potentially one of the reasons, but certainly take some time. If someone's been critical of you, have a think about maybe why they've been critical of you, and that will go a long way to help remove some of that self-doubt you may have by understanding other people better. So understand others offer instinctive opinions as well. They react instead of responding. So what I've got here is You can spend weeks or months, maybe you spent months coming up with a business that you have loads of confidence in. You've done all of the research. Your mind has already done all of this future predictions, come up with all these possible ways that your business could fail, but you're comfortable in your choice. Then you just off the cuff mention it to a colleague that you're thinking about starting a business, and they go, oh, well, that's not a very good idea. That's really risky. You have to think people are reacting in the moment. They're only taking a few seconds. So don't let your choices be cut down by someone that's only spent a few seconds on an opinion versus you that have spent weeks or months researching, understanding why you've made a decision. Put more weight in your decision, not in someone else's. So hopefully by understanding other people, it will help you understand yourself better as well. Step 4 is avoid seeking validation, and this follows on very closely from step 3 as it largely involves other people. People will often seek validation from other people, however, this is usually unhelpful. If the person agrees, they're an echo chamber, nothing is learned. If the person disagrees, then your self-doubt will increase and you may harbour bad feelings towards that person. If you do want to challenge your choices, then seek guidance from someone that can offer a balanced viewpoint. So someone that doesn't have any skin in the game from kind of trying to persuade you one way or the other. And also someone that has experience in the subject matter. For example, there would have been little point me asking my dad about his thoughts on me starting a business because he's never started a business. There's no point in me asking someone about investing in crypto who knows nothing about investing in crypto. So make sure you seek out the right person if you do really want to challenge your choices. Don't just ask someone what they think, hoping for validation, as that will not benefit anyone. Also, don't waste time trying to convince people to change their opinion. If someone's given you their opinion, that's their opinion. And ultimately, their opinion should not matter, as you've made decisions based on your values, which goes back to step 2. And your values are more important than all of those other factors and what other people think. So you have conviction in your values. Other people's opinions won't matter. You should only be seeking opinions, not so much opinions, but you should only be seeking advice from people that can actually offer you beneficial advice, not just validation seeking. And then finally, acceptance. And this is a huge part to this whole process. Once you understand why you have self-doubt and fear of failure, you can then work out your values, you can understand how to work and react to other people. You'll finally get to the point of acceptance, which is we cannot eliminate self-doubt and fear of failure. They are part of us and they exist to protect us. So even if you're extremely confident in the decision you're going to take, there will always be that element of self-doubt and also that element of fear of failure, as it's there to try and to protect you, trying to keep you safe. So don't expect that to go away. Even if you seek all of the validation in the world and get it, there's always going to be an element of that trying to protect you as you move forward. Also, as I just mentioned on the previous slide, have conviction in your choices as they are led by your values. Your choices should not be led by other people. They should be led by your values, and that's where you get the clarity from, because it always comes back to those values. There will always be some people that oppose your choices, as we discussed on the other slide. There are various reasons why they may oppose your choice. Some of them not always good, some of them not always bad, but always be aware that there will be people that oppose your choices, and accepting that is part of this process. Don't be afraid of "I told you so," and this is what holds so many people back from making the big decision, from starting a business. They're worried if they do fail, it's not the financial hit they're worried about. They're worried what people will think of them. They're worried about that person that said, "Oh, that's not a good idea," going, "I told you so." If you're worried about people saying to you, "I told you so," you probably shouldn't be friends with that person in the first place, because if you fail, good friends will support you regardless. If someone says, "I told you so," at least you tried. You know, what's that person done with their life? If they're sitting there saying, "I told you so," that is a reflection on them. They are projecting on to you. So don't be afraid of "I told you so." Accept that things may work out, and that's okay. We learn the most from failure. And if you guys have been watching me for a while, both on this channel and on my Amazon FBA channel, I've had failures throughout this process, and that's absolutely fine. And kind of ironically, the failures have been the points where I learn the absolute most. So I'd rather fail and learn from it than just have, well, of course we'd all like to have all successes, but that's not realistic. So there's always going to be successes, there's always going to be failures. The key is to learn from your failures and use them to increase your chances of success going forward. Now, to give you a recent real world example, I actually had self-doubt about making this video. You know, this is a bit outside of my comfort zone, talking generally about business, but I accepted that some people might not watch it, or I accepted that some people might not like it. I accepted that even some people might make negative comments. Hopefully you guys won't. You'll provide positive comments, but if that happens, I'm willing to accept that, because ultimately it comes down to one of my core values, which is I actually want to help people. So that value of helping people gave me clarity, and it allowed me to make this video despite the self-doubt that is there. And a final point really is you guys should live your life, not the life others think you should live. And that very much goes back to step 3 and step 4. And that's what holds a lot of people back, you know, what they think other people think of them. You should be making decisions and choices for you based on your values. And the final thing in this video, don't doubt yourself. Scroll down, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.